Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kind for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. But guess what? I came in, had to do a whole lot of work, and I said, you know what? I don't have time to prepare the blog and write up all the stuff, and I didn't cut a whole lot of videos for the show. I didn't cut any videos for the show today. So I had a thought. Why not go ahead and just say open forum? We'll talk about whatever you guys throw into the chat, as well as whoever calls in. I put some stuff out there that say, give us a call, 281-823-7747, or whatever you put in the chat. Anyway, welcome aboard, JRay713. Of course, that is Ray. Ray is our buddy from Third Ward. We also have into the house AC Rodriguez. How are you doing, AC Rodriguez? Eric Hayes is in the house as well. We have Melanie Keelan, Peggy Lopez. She says, I added my thumbs up. I'd like everybody to go ahead and say thumbs up, guys. Thumbs up. Let's go ahead and get those thumbs up on the YouTube channel and then all the other channels. Let's say hello to Lee Grant. Lee Grant is in the house. Lee Grant is on Facebook. Eric Hayes is on Facebook. FCP Bridge on YouTube. J Ray on YouTube. Para ver, AVQ is on Twitch. Para ver, who else? Did I miss anybody? If I missed anybody, please forgive me, but come on. And anyway, what are we going to talk about today? Whatever the hell you want to talk about today. Michael says, how many attacks have happened against Israeli citizens around the world today? School stabbing in France, diplomat attacked in China, Hamas leaders declare day of jihad. I swear it's like Hamas and their fellow jihadis are beginning to get bombed until the rubble bounces. And yes, that's about the most effed up thing I've said in a very long time. There's 1 million people living in the north part of the Gaza Strip. When Israel warned them to evacuate south and only gave them 24 hours, that's not actually technically feasible. There's going to be so many civilian casualties getting caught up in a war from which have no escape. Today and the next few weeks are going to be a disaster unfolding. And unfortunately, what that also means is that we are going to take a lot of the blame as Americans, irrespective of it being Jewish Jewish jets, etc., doing all the damage in Palestine, the Gaza. It's going to blow back on the United States of America. The reason why it's going to blow back, it is because, of course, we know why. Anyway, I got you. Eric K says dead people, felons, and out of area people voting repeatedly. Huh? That is what happened in 2022. And guess what reason why Harris County did not want to give records? Wayne is relentless and shows all via depositions in court case. Wayne can try whatever he wants. Wayne Dolcefino has been a joke for a very long time now. That's why he's not in the media right now. He's doing off stuff. You notice he's not on air right now where he actually used to like to be. I mean, you guys are nuts if you think that somehow we are going to try to steal an election and you still believe this stuff. Where is your mind, the thinking mind? We should all try to get a functionally critically thinking mindset. All right. Eric Rodriguez replied saying, guess they should take it to court. Hopefully it doesn't turn out like all the other ones where it was Republicans doing the voting fraud. That's what we found. Every time we have found fraud thus far, it has been Republicans who have, in effect, caused or effected the fraud. Thank you for reminding us about that, AC Rodriguez. Bridge MCP, hola amiga, ¿cómo estás? J. Ray. Egberto woke up feeling much better today. I had to say I can breathe clearly now. The COVID is gone in my sing-song voice. Haha, great. So did it confirm that you did have COVID? Jay, I don't think you told me, Ray, if it was COVID for sure that you had or not. But you know, you're a strapped young man. You can get over all this stuff. So welcome back to the health. All right, Mary Lou points from this morning. We'll talk about Mary Lou Retton a little bit later, but I'm glad that you reminded me to do that as well. All right, let's see what else we got here. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Welcome aboard. Tom C says, here in the house, hope your house is warmer than mine. My house is still warm that I had to put some of the AC on for a little bit to cool down the office. Michael Ronan says, Egberto, Gerald Ford Strike Group is parked outside Gaza right now. When the SHIT hits the fan, we're going to be involved. That's a darn shame that if we start lobbing missiles from our aircraft carrier and battleships, look out, look out. I sure hope that Biden doesn't fall into the trap. I'm feeling that he may use the 27 Americans that were killed and the likely 14 being held hostage as some sort of a justification to help out in attacking again, as usual, not going to the root of the problem. Tom C says my house is warm, too warm for October. Let's see what else we got. Egberto threw shade on Mary. I like Mary Lou Retton, but again, you have to ask why does a millionaire doesn't have insurance, right? Millionaires asking for funds, rather shameful, but ironically, we the people give them the funds. All right, Jay, I got the free test in the mail. It was kind of inconclusive, so I would just assume that it was cold and cause it was pretty nasty and I had a lot of discharge and stuff in my sinuses. Got you. Shiva Las Vegas is in the house. She says, happy weekend, everybody. I say to the same. Happy weekend, everybody. Egberto, Michael Ronda, Egberto, the more likely scenario is that we're going to send in the Marines to clear out the hostage takers with the airport support, with air support, dealing a lot of collateral damage. Daniel Lado says, hopefully, the fallout from the evil of Hamas will result in a final solution to the problem. You see, if you sit down there and think Hamas are the people who murdered those people, that's what's going to happen. If you understand that Hamas is an evolution of a mindset of an oppressed mindset, a mindset who has endured violence for a long time, a mindset that we need to do something to correct, we will continue to make the mistakes over and it won't be a final solution. I would love a final solution in that. And the final solution is absolutely a true two-state solution with all settlements gone. But again, you have to have honesty to have these types of solutions. You have to have honesty to type these kind of solutions. Anyway, folks, why don't you give us a call? 281-823-7747. Let's talk about whatever you want to talk about. 281-823-7747. Come on in and give me a call. Let me test out, make sure we get this stuff running just the way it needs to be run. One more time, 281-823-7747. All right, David Page says, I wish U.S. soldiers would enter Gaza. No, that would stop the bombing and hopefully lift the starvation siege. It's a shame, isn't it, David Page? Michael Rodney says, see the difference between left and right in the chat? I recognize that violence is coming and I'm worried about the death toll to come. DL is gleefully cheering on the killing. You know, that's what we normally see. Peggy Lopez says the root of the problem is the oil-seeking countries after World War II taking land in the Middle East and giving the land away, causing conflict to keep the Middle East disrupted. You know, I'm going to be on a talk show in D.C. next week, and I am going to be talking a whole lot about, it's going to be about my book, of course, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors, but I'm going to be segueing into a lot of the mindset that creates these kinds of eventualities. So you know, it'll be on WPFW in DC. I think I'll be on live WPW in DC on, I believe it's the 18th of this month, sometime next week. All right. Lee Grant says Hamas will never accept a two-state solution. It's not about Hamas accepting a two-state solution. It's about the Palestinians having their own state. What Hamas is a result of the failure of a successful solution to the Palestinian-Israeli question. So therefore, I think you have to start somewhere, and an effective two-state solution is in fact the answer. Tom C says, I wouldn't use the term final solution, which is what the Nazis said about their Jewish problem in 1930 and 1940s. I remember that well. That should have rung a bell right away. That should have rung a bell right away. Anyhow, Hamas is terrorist. Yeah, if you a terrorist is somebody that terrorizes, go in and use it and kills and maims to effect a political outcome, right? That's what terrorists do. They terrorize the population with the expectation of getting out a particular outcome. And we have a tendency to just look at groups as terrorist groups, and we like to look at, let's say, a country as Iran and call them a terrorist country, because let's assume that Iran has a lot to do with Hezbollah and Hamas, and they are using these guys to terrorize people into getting some outcome. Then should we actually look in the mirror as well for things that we do in that respect? There's a woman that I follow on TikTok, and she gave a good example. She asked that we take any two countries that are in conflict and then add up the death count, add up the body count, the dead body count. And she said, let's see where that stands. So if you add up the body count on the Palestinians over the last 75 years, and you add up the body count of Israeli, both military and civilians under that scenario, I think you actually see a huge disparity, 10-1. And then when you look at it through those numbers, you then ask, who's oppressed again? When you go into, I always use Panama as an example. We have new people on the feed right now. When you look at Panama, and to get Manuel Antonio Noriega, let's use the UN count. Let's say 4,000 dead, but we know it was over 10,000 dead. But let's say 4,000 to about 80-something Americans that died in that incursion that was brought on by Bush #1. Let's look at the proportionality again. Over 4,000 dead Panamanians, 87 dead Americans who invaded the country. What are we talking about again? Let's look at Iraq, right? We go into Iraq and we bomb the place to smithereens, hundreds of thousands dead. We have a few thousands that are dead on our part, right? I think it is starting to. We ask many times. We ask, why do they hate us? Why do they inflict this on us? A lot of times you just look at those numbers. Look at those numbers. And then you have to ask yourself, after seeing those numbers, who really can we consider the aggressor and who can we really consider the aggrieved? Let's even use the last thing. Hamas did a terrorist act. They murdered, I think now it's up to 1,300 people in Israel. Massacre, criminal. That's what they did. Innocent people dead. And for a minute, it was, you only had about a couple hundred dead Palestinians, and this 1,400 or so dead Israelis. Horrendous. All I could think of in the back of my head is, I know what the body counts have been between the Palestinian-Israeli conflict for the last several decades. And I just knew that those numbers will get reversed rather quickly. And it has already begun. It has way surpassed the Palestinian deaths, now way surpassed every every body count that we have for Israel as well now. And it's only going to get worse. Um, what occurred in Israel was horrendous. It was bad. But please tell me what you think is going to happen when the world starts to see that just like Hamas killed hundreds of innocent Israeli civilians, now Israel will, using the power of the state, will now effect the deaths of thousands of innocent Palestinians. How is the world going to respond to that? What is the world going to say now that, yes, a bad thing happened to Israel, to Israelis, innocent Israelis? And now orders of magnitude of that will occur, or multiples will occur on the Palestinian people. Is that the right thing to do? I'll be interested. Anybody want to call me and talk about that? 281-823-7747. I await your calls. 281-823-7747. Who has the guts to discuss the issue? I'd love to hear either the same point of view or an alternate point of view. And I think others would love to hear your point of view as well. So let's go ahead and bring in Randy. Come on in, Randy. I think others would love to hear your point of view as well. So let's go ahead. Randy, can you hear me? Randy. Come on in, Randy.
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead and turn down your sound so that because we're a little bit delayed. Okay, go ahead, Randy. Turn down your sound so that because we're a little bit delayed. Randy?
Yes, sorry. What did you hear background sound?
Okay, now I can hear you without anything, I believe.
Oh, good. I just wanted to talk about Hamas and how they're treated as if they're the government of Palestine. It seems unfair. To me, they're just more Palestinians. I mean, Palestine doesn't have a police force or a government. And how can they be expected to treat Hamas as what they are, as an outlaw gang in their midst? They can't. Hamas has all the guns.
True.
What do you say to that?
No, I mean, there's no doubt about that, right? I mean, if we want to be honest about it, Hamas has always been using rocks and sticks, while otherwise Israel has big bombs and missiles and everything else to use. I mean, it's not it will never be a fair fight. I mean, but that said, every single country has a tendency to use whatever options they have to fight something that they're fighting for. Look, I'm not justifying what Hamas did, but I also cannot justify what Israel is doing and is about to go ahead and do further. And I imagine, based on your conversation, you can't either.
Absolutely. Well, I feel a little odd talking on the phone for so long. I'm going to hang up, but thank you for responding to me, Egberto.
Thank you very much for calling in, Randy. I appreciate your call. All right, folks, any other calls? 281-823-7747. Again, that number is 281-823-7747. Breed says Michael Ruddin, Bloody Sunday, or the Bogside Massacre was a massacre on 30th of January 1972 when British soldiers shot 26 unarmed civilians during a protest march in Bogside area of Derry, Northern Ireland. 14 people died, 13 were killed outright, while the death of another man 4 months later was attributed to his injuries. Many of the victims were shot while fleeing from the soldiers, and some were shot while trying to help the wounded. Other protesters were injured by shrapnel, rubber bullets, or batons. 2 were run down by British Army vehicles, and some were beaten. All of those were Catholics. The march had been organized by Northern Ireland Civil Rights Association to protest against imprisonment without a trial. The soldiers were from the 1st Battalion of the Parachute Regiment, the same battalion implicated in the Ballymurphy massacre several months before. I mean, it seems to be modus operandi with many of these, you know, well, you understand what I'm going to say there. Michael Renner says Mike Cisak, New York Post is a, you know what, rag, a borderline questionable conspiracy mill with so many failed fact checks. Find better sourcing. Yeah, I don't know who would use them as a source, but anybody who knows a little bit about anything knows the truth. All right, Egberto, 5-1, but yes, agreed with the idea. Israeli Palestine timeline. At least 12,579 Palestinians and 2,676 Israelis have been killed by someone from the other side since 2000. That is just since 2000. And let's go ahead and get that onto the screen just so that people can see the disproportion of, and this is what the friend of mine who is another activist had to say. She wanted people to look at the proportionalities. Look at 2014. Look at 2014 and look at 2012. Look at 2009. That is, the red line are Palestinians, the blue lines are Israelis, whoever is being killed by the other side. If you were not to tell a story, if you were just asking, if you were to present that chart and asked, who is the aggressor? Who is the one doing mass killing? What do you think the answer would be? What do you think the answer would be? That is actually the truth there. That's the truth that we're not seeing on TV. And again, I want to qualify this by noting nobody is justifying the murder of innocent civilians. But what we are saying, the murder of innocent civilians, you are looking at it on the screen right now by sides. That is what you're seeing on the screen right now. Okay? That is what's on the screen. Daniel Lado says, if you start judging oppression by the number of deaths, do you think you will get the real numbers? You create a vested interest to increase the death toll. No, not really. By me pointing this out, what you really do is you try to reduce the death. If you see that your side is looking real bad by killing so much, just maybe in order to show that you're less evil than you are, right? You may try to create less deaths. But that is the numbers right now. Those are the numbers. I mean, if you want to know why people say we don't cover many of these stories fairly, that's the reason why. If you watch the news that's occurring right now, you would think that that after that terrorist attack that killed that many Israelis, a bad thing, a horrendous thing, a criminal thing. But all these other deaths in 2023 now came after those killings. Those innocent people that are dying came after those killings. And if you can feel good about that, you should be okay. All right. Lee Grant says many had firearms already. Let's see what else we got here. Maywood says, I read that already. Eric Hayes, was it New York Post that broke the Hunter laptop story? That was no. Okay, Michael Egberto, I'm worried that the last bar is about to shoot through the roof. Actually, you don't need to be worried about. It has already shoot through the roof. That is not an accurate bar anymore. The blue line is pretty much static. The red line is about to go through the roof. And it's already through the roof because there's a lot of deaths not reported right now because we have a connectivity problem with the West Bank, but with Gaza. We cannot get good information from Gaza right now because the internet is down. Those with satellite TV and some battery power can get some information out. But it is like these guys are locked into that 140-mile prison. And then, of course, Israel is saying, we are going to start bombing the northern part of Gaza to smithereens. So please, you have 24 hours to go south. We couldn't even move 500,000 Houstonians with freeways out of Houston during the last hurricane that flooded Kingwood. I don't remember the name. We couldn't get 500,000 people out. After Israel has bombed the smithereens out of northern Gaza, they're now telling the people who are in these bombed out buildings, bombed out streets, bombed out cars, you have 24 hours to get out. That almost tells me you're just covering your ass by saying you have 24 hours to get out. And when you massacre all those folks, you're going to say, well, we told them to leave. We told them to leave because we were going to bomb. And then who pays for that repair? Those innocent people whose buildings are being bombed, they didn't do it. So who's going to pay for those buildings that you summarily bombed? Who pays for it? There are a lot of questions here that when people just talk about war and these things that they don't take into account, right? Who pays for it? Anyway, folks, give me a call. I'd love to get somebody else's voices in here. I really would like to hear somebody other than text. If anybody wants to call in, 281-823-7747. I would love to hear your point of view. I would love to hear your point of view. 281-823-7747. And Eric, the same applies. The difference between Ukraine and Russia is that Russia is blowing. All right, Ann Arbor. Let's go to that. All right, from Ann Arbor, come on in.
Hello, just a second. This is Tom.
Hey, Tom, what's
Tom
up, my
Keith
friend?
calling. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can clearly.
Oh, good. Well, I just have a couple little points to make. I'm really interested, of course, in the whole war between Israel and Hamas. And what I've been thinking about is what is close to my heart, and that's the whole issue of nonviolence. Ahimsa, Ahimsa, which was Gandhi's philosophy. It's a philosophy of Hindus and Buddhists. And what bothers me is that we seem to have nothing in between either being totally passive and accepting things as they are, or becoming very violent, and we're having the same problem in our country. And I think we need to be more civilized and look at Martin Luther King and Gandhi and others who have promoted this idea of nonviolence, of nonviolent protest, and sometimes even to the point of civil disobedience to get your point across. And I think that's been the problem all along, that when you think about the great changes that did occur in India and different places where, and even in our country with the civil rights movement, big changes occurred when people got together and protested what was happening, but did it in a nonviolent way, and even to the point where they accepted being harassed or abused and sometimes even killed for their beliefs. And this changed society greatly. And I think we need to promote this more and more. And if we don't, we're going to end up with this situation where people are just kind of oppressed for a long time and then all of a sudden explode in this terrible violent situation, killings and hostage taking. And it's just awful, just brutality. And I think we're all humans. And I know that we tend to call people that are violent animals, and we dehumanize people because of that, which I think is a mistake as well. The other thing I want to mention too is that I just finished a book on Einstein, which I highly recommend. It's Life and History. I listened to the audio book and it was excellent. And it covered his whole life, and he was an internationalist promoting peace, even though he supported World War II because of the Nazis. But his whole point was that we need some kind of international organization to protect people's lives. It's ideally it should be the United Nations with their peacekeeping forces that would come between warring parties or even stop violence. But something needs to be done on an international basis. I know this is a kind of a sore point for a lot of Americans because we kind of protect our sovereignty, and we don't like the idea of giving up anything for an international organization. But I think that's where we've fallen down over the years, that we don't support some kind of military, even peacekeeping force that would just stop all this fighting, and ideally even limit arms and keep the peace by preventing nation states or groups like Hamas from acquiring all these weapons and planning terrible acts. So those are the two things that I wanted to express.
That is those are prescient statements, Tom. Imagine, I want to start with the last thing that you said about guns and munition and all of that. Just imagine if we weren't a society, or we weren't made up of a whole bunch of societies who that's what we did, make a whole lot of weapons of human destruction, guns, bombs, all of that, right? If you don't have the
Right.
supply of those guys, we don't do it. The other thing is, imagine after this massacre occurred, imagine, Israel. I heard some of the generals in Israel say, we know that a lot of these people are going to die, but we have to effect an attack or else it'll happen again. Well, every single time this has happened, they have effected an attack, and it continues to happen again. So it behooves me that they make silly statements that says we have to fight back this sort of a way in order to make sure this doesn't happen again, as opposed to saying maybe we should change strategy. Maybe we should start expressing the humanity of others. Maybe we should because they haven't. Look, they have not changed how the modus operandi at all. There are a lot of TikToks are out now that you can prove historical stuff right now. There are things like when the settlers come into certain areas and they take over homes, but that's not it. That's not the only thing. There are laws in Israel that the soldiers can come into your house and just commandeer your house and say this is for military purposes, and as such, I have the right to be in your house and use your house at will. I mean, there are these crazy laws that affect just Palestinians that you have to ask yourself, from a human point of view, how can you tolerate that? Americans sure wouldn't tolerate that. We would not tolerate those types of things. So you have to ask the question. They're repeating the same mistakes they've made. I don't call them mistakes because it's not mistakes. It's things that they're doing at will. And this has not, I can't speak like this on my KPFT show because, again, too much blowback. But I think until we start having the real conversations, like you just said, Tom, until we get there, you remember, turn the other cheek. I mean, until we get there. Anyway, Tom, what else you want to say before we move on?
Well, just the last thing is that I don't know what you think about this, and I know this has been, but this whole idea of a two-state solution, that kind of, they keep going back and forth. And see, my ideal situation would be to have everybody live together in one country, and not have these other countries establish another country that's going to start throwing missiles back and forth, because we need to look at each other as humans and work together for the peace of everybody. And the idea of saying, okay, we're going to separate you from and have you in a separate country, I don't know if that's a solution, or I don't know, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I was wondering what you thought about that.
First of all, I prefer what you said in the beginning, and that is, I mean, I think they should live together. I mean, they have always lived together, right? They have always lived together. So, I mean, it seems to me like that should be the case. It should be just Palestine, right? Now, here's the interesting thing, however. And maybe you can express something that I don't know. I don't see how you can say, and I would love for a person who believes in having a Jewish state to explain it to me. How can a state that says it's a Jewish state be a popular democracy? I don't know. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah. Well, see, that does bother me, because what if we said America is a Christian state, and then we just say, if you're not Christian, you got to leave. And that's, some people in this country are promoting that, the Christian nationalist idea. So to have a Jewish state with only Jewish people in it, that bothers me, because that doesn't seem like a true democracy.
Well, I mean, I don't, I wonder if we don't even have to use the word seem, right? Because what it says is
Yeah,
people
yeah,
who have one religion have supremacy over the other religion, which is what we actually have in Israel right now. Palestinians don't have the same rights as Israelis in the government, right?
right. Yeah, and that doesn't seem to be our form of democracy, or what the founding fathers saw for our country, is there would be a separation between church and state, and if you have a state religion, then you can't have that separation, and we have all the problems that we're starting to confront in our country with that idea.
Nobody's stopping anybody from practicing their own religion. It's just that when you come to the
Right.
civil society, it shouldn't be a part of the state. But he says, how can they call is a Jewish state, and so the inhumane things they do, since many family members have lived throughout the Holocaust. That
Right.
bothers me as well. It bothers me as well. Anyway, Tom, anything else?
Okay. No, that's it. Thanks, Egbert. I
Th-
appreciate your
thank you,
show. I really love it.
thank you,
Really.
thank you, my brother. Appreciate you. Anyway, folks, anybody else want to call in? I want to do more of this because I'm reading the chat as well as getting calls from very smart people. Let's do it again. 281-823-7747. Anybody else want to call? 281 823-7747. Come on, give me a call. Get on the phone and let's have a chat as well. I didn't, it's great because I didn't prepare anything. I know the material that I wanted to cover, but I didn't prepare official videos. I will do that. I have Monday. We'll be back with good videos, all that good stuff. But I said, you know what? Let's just bring everybody into the fold and let's go ahead and talk. So give me a call, 281-823-7747. Again, 281-823-7747. Who is going to be the third caller? Let's see who is brave to get the third call in. I tell you what, you get the third call. I send you this. The Politics Done Right bumper sticker to put on your telephone or your bumper. The bumper sticker or the bumper. There's plenty of chat to read out. Well, yeah, that's true. There's a lot of chat to read out. It would be nice if I had somebody like you to come and say, okay, and now it's time for the chat readout, starting with Michael Rudnin, who says, which says, Al Jazeera is a good source with high factual accuracy, but do you read the articles you link? From your article, according to the Egyptian security sources talks between Egypt and the US, Qatar and Turkey discussed the idea of delivering humanitarian aid through the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt's Sinai Peninsula under a geographically limited ceasefire. Turkey's president said work had started to deliver aid without elaborating. The Rafah crossing, which is the main exit point from Gaza, not controlled by Israel, has been closed since Tuesday after Israel bombardments hit the Palestinian side, according to officials in Gaza and Egyptian sources. Egypt has made repeated statements this week warning against the possibility that Israel's assault on Gaza could lead to the displacement of residents from enclave onto Egyptian territory. And then, in other words, displace, which is probably what Israel wants, right? Displace folks and then take the land. Displace and say, okay, we bombed it to the smithereens. It's all empty now. And then, of course, well, I'm not going to go there. But anyway, what else we got here? Michael says, I'll say it again. A two-state solution is no longer feasible as Israeli settlers have stolen Palestinian lands. What borders would be acceptable? Israelis will not relinquish the lands they've stolen. A one-state solution would be a nice idea, but Israel is a religious apartheid state, and they don't want to give Palestinians full rights of citizenship, as that would create a large minority population who would vote against what the majority wants. There are substantially more Muslims than Jews in the region. Such would be a population shift among the citizenry that their far right government could not abide by. Can't argue that. Lee Grant says Israel is a multicultural democracy. Islam is the second largest religion in Israel, constituting 1.707 million and around 18.1% of the country's population as of 2022. The ethnic Arab citizens of Israel make up the majority of its Muslim population, making them the largest minority group in Israel. The problem is the reason why those numbers seem that way, Senor Lee Grant, is because Gaza plus the West Bank are not included. And the reason why they don't want to include that is exactly what Michael Rudnin said is true. At that point, we get the population shift. That's the reason why. All right, Mike C. says, Bridge MCP and Michael Rudnin, seems you have trouble comprehending simple English. The Rafah crossing, which is the main exit point from Gaza, not controlled by Israel, has been closed since Tuesday, so Egypt isn't allowing anyone to leave the Gaza Strip because it was bombed, and also because it would create a catastrophe right at the other end where catastrophe does not need to occur. CSAC, they understand you fine. It's just that what you're asking for is to support the inhumanity that is about to occur. That is to migrate people out of their land. It's almost like the Trail of Tears. Remember that in our horrid history? Oh, I forgot. In America, we don't want to teach history anymore. We don't want to teach real history. What you are asking for to occur in Gaza, to move people to Egypt, it would actually be worse than the Trail of Tears, because at least they were going over territory. These guys are going over bombed villages. Please look up the Trail of Tears. That's what you're asking for. I mean, if we would just look at all human beings as alike, we won't simply say, just open the Egyptian border so that the Palestinians can exit there. Why should they exit their land? Why should they exit their land? Daniel says, sounds to me like Israel is doing humanity a favor by cutting out the cancer. You would say that, sir. You would say that. You would say that. I imagine the indigenous folks learned a whole lot from that a whole lot of folks who founded this country was just like you, huh? I imagine. British MCP says Egypt urges Israel to stop bombing Rafah crossing to allow aid delivery. Yes. Michael Runner says DL is a horrible person. You know, that is what you call a master troll. You know, that's what he is. Anyway, folks, come on, give me a call. 281-823-7747. Give me a call. 281-823-7747. Let's see what else I didn't read that I can get in here real quick. Egberto Willis, propaganda. British stated the IRA started it. See terrorists. Yeah, exactly. That's what they normally do, right? And you know, it's always funny because it's like we like to uphold, let's say, the British as, you know, the bastions of democracy, etc., forgetting that there was something once called the British Empire, and that what an empire has done throughout India, throughout Guyana, and all these other places, British Guatemala, and all these different places. You just have to wonder, you know, you just have to wonder. That's all I gotta say. You just have to wonder. Egberto, would you post this one, please? Of course, if you ask me to post something, I will. And it goes like this. $6 billion frozen, and Qatar have agreed to stop Iran from accessing the $6 billion humanitarian fund in light of Hamas attack on Israel. The fund containing Iranian oil money was previously unfrozen in a prisoner swap. Not a penny of the money has been spent, and every transaction would have had to being approved by U.S. officials. Let me tell you what that does, however. This is where I wonder about the Biden administration falling for the Republican trap. This transaction has nothing to do with Hamas, nothing. But this is Iranians' money. This is sale of their oil, and that is money paid to them. You don't have to like Iran. It's a business transaction. You know, we had business transaction during slavery, and nobody thought about holding back the slave masters' business transactions because they were involved in slavery. And we can go with item after item. But worse, a contract was made. And supposedly, America is a country that honors its contracts. I mean, we know we don't honor our treaties, we know that. But at least we normally honor our contracts, right? Because that's what the Constitution is, right? A letter of contracting. But now we are about to cross into a new lane where our word is no longer valid. Forget about everything else. We had a deal with Iran that Iran was going to get their own money back. Okay, they were going to get their own money back. And for that, they released several people that they called prisoners. And after their release, now that this has occurred with Hamas, we said, okay, now we're going to continue to hold on to your money. Now, here's a kicker. What do you think that does for the future? It's not about the present, right? We can do that. We can hold back their money. We can force Qatar to hold back their money and all of that. The question is, what happens in the future when America tries to sign another contract with some other state or entity or make a deal? All they have to say is, well, we know America didn't keep its treaty with the Black Hills. We know America didn't keep its treaty with Mexico and the Guadalupe Hidalgo Treaty. We know Guadalupe Hidalgo Treaty. We know America doesn't keep its word with any of its treaties. Now we are reaching to the point where America doesn't keep its word with its contracts. And then how do you negotiate thereafter if your word means nothing? That is what we ought to think about here. All right, let's see. Eric Egberto thinks MMT makes sense. No surprise he can't wrap his head around the concept of fungibility. I know exactly what fungibility, but it's none of our business with this. It's the money is no less fungible when the contract was signed than it is now. The money was no less fungible when that contract was signed. Fungibility is just how it is, okay? So that makes no sense. I think you're the one who doesn't understand. And by the way, you're the one who doesn't understand MMT. After all, MMT is what kept the economy going, right? Look it up. Bruce says eclipse tomorrow at 11:40. It's partial, so never look at the sun unless you have certified glasses. Yeah, and it's going to be, is it 11:40 during our time? Because that's during the Ask Egberto Anything that we are having tomorrow. So I hope all of you get to join Ask Egberto Anything tomorrow. Let me put that link up on the screen if I can find it. Ask Egberto Anything. Please sign up. It's free. Ask Egberto Anything. There you go. There you go. I have it on the screen. By the way, let's see. Daniel Edo says, thank you, England. Lee N. of Lord. Mike says that MNT policies is what caused the explosion in inflation. Wrong. Again, I wish you'd do more reading. That's not what caused explosion in inflation. The people that you love caused the explosion in inflation, called the corporatocracy. Again, it was analyzed deeply by professors and exposed by Katie Porter, a Democrat from California. Look it up. I have it blogged. All right. What else have we got here? Any other things that we need to discuss that I missed? Michael says, So about that 6 billion, it happened weeks before the Hamas attack. The planning and logistic for the Hamas attack likely took months. The two had nothing to do with each other. Meantime, Qatar hasn't given out any of Iran's money yet. Despite that, conspiracies continues to falsely linking these disparate events. Disinformation spreads further than faster than fact check can debunk them. But the problem also is our media. Our media doesn't keep the people informed. You look at our media, there's a different reality the media show. It's just, let me tell you how bad things are in Palestine right now, in Gaza. It has gotten so bad now that the media is unable to ignore it. And in so doing, you can see the difference in tonality in how Gaza is being covered. Completely different in how Gaza is currently being covered. Egberto, go take Econ 101 and get back with me. Sir, I took Economics 101. I wrote articles about the economy. My book covers the economy, several of my books actually. And you know what? Guess what? It's correct. My brother, I suggest you do it. Bruce says Gaza has a border with Egypt. Yes, a small border. Most of its border is, in fact, with Israel. Well, the whole length and northern part is with Israel. All right, let's see. Para ver. And yeah, Israel bombed the border as well. It's funny because Israel said, go south, go south. As we're bombing, go south, go south. And a lot of dead babies. And we're starting to finally see on network TV some of the carnage that is occurring in Gaza. Because I think the American media is getting scared that many Americans are going to see what Al Jazeera is putting out and what other reputable rags are putting out, and it will let them lose the credibility that they have already, much of the credibility that they have left, which right now isn't much. All right, 281-823-7747. Come on. Let's get one last call in before the show ends. Who's going to be that brave person to give us the last call in the house? Come on. Let's hear it. We've had 3 good calls today. Let's get one more call before I shut the live program down for the weekend. Let's go. Una vez más, quiero recibir una llamada más. Let's have one more call. Somebody call in. I'm waiting. 281-823-7747. Let's do it. 281-823-7747. Am I going to get that call? Am I going to have to cry for that call? Am I going to have to say, please call? Again, una vez más, 281-823-7747. You know what? Later on, what I'm looking into is getting a tool that if you're in front of your desktop, you can just push a button and talk. Or if you're at your phone, the same thing. This looked like my brother Ray is going to save it for me. Brother Ray, come on in.
Hey, Egberto. Hey, I feel so much better now, man. I haven't been sick in a long time because I've been avoiding people. But,
Right.
I went to the event, and, things happen like that. So anyway, I'm back on the saddle. So I've actually found myself in a situation where I have more time on my hands. So you'll definitely be hearing from me and seeing me more in the chats.
That's great.
I'm glad you are encouraging more people to call in, and I'm glad more people are actually. I was actually feeling a little sad that I'm the only one calling in, but I just want to give you that last one. I really don't have nothing to say on this issue. I'll be honest. I'm no foreign policy expert, and I don't pretend to be one on the radio. I'm with you. I'm all for peace in the Middle East. Whatever solution will basically end with less loss of life. That's what I'm for, and that's where I leave it at that. Where my passion is locally.
You know what, my brother, I hear you. You're right. And by the way, you don't need to be a foreign policy expert to know when people are just unjustifiably getting killed. I mean, I think you know that very, very well, my brother. I think you can see what's happening. Those Israelis that were killed by Hamas, they were killed unjustifiably. Hamas committed murder. Now those Palestinians that are going to be killed by bombs falling out of the sky, they will be killed unjustifiably. Unfortunately, a lot of more of them are going to be killed than what the damage was that the Hamas terrorists did. So I wish more people, instead of looking at it like that Israel has to retaliate, to do one good thing that says, you know what? We don't have to retaliate in that form. We can retaliate in many different forms. We can say we are going to find individuals that participated in those massacres and find them individually where we don't kill a whole bunch of people and destroy a whole lot of property. And at the same time, we can start to say we are going to start mitigating what created the hate that somebody could do those evil things to other human beings. We could really do that, and that would send a better message. If, in other words, we are going to hunt down the individuals that participated in that massacre. We won't kill innocent Palestinians, and then we will start really working on the problems that created the hate within Palestine. It's amazing. Thank you very much for calling in, Ray. And yes, today you are the fourth caller, my brother.
All right, bro. Well, I'll
You,
see you around next week, and you stay safe and healthy. Have a
you
great
too, my
weekend.
brother.
Safe Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Oh, it's third. Oh my God. All right, brother. You stay
Yeah,
safe,
yeah.
man. We'll talk. Take care.
All right.
All right, folks. We are coming close to the end of the show, and again today, I just kind of winged it with coming on, and I want to thank all of you. Let's see. Can't call in cause I'm driving. Great, Bruce. You know you're. Hey, Bruce. I haven't seen you in a while. We got to go get some coffee. Got to do my taxes this weekend, but we should go get some coffee. And there was something that I went to the other day, and while I was there, I'm like, why the? I was heading out there, and I, as soon as passing your street, I'm like, why the hell didn't I call Bruce and say, hey, let's get out and go to this stuff together? Cause next time I'll give you a shot, brother. Anyway, Tom C says Palestinians are also Semites, so being against Palestinians is also being anti-Semitic. That is so true. That is so true. Oh, it's not working. I think it should work. Let me go ahead and put it in there again. Here it is, brother. Try that and make sure. I think that should work. Ask Egberto anything. I'm pulling it up right now. I just got it to work. I just pulled that up, Eric. It works. It works. It works. Go to Ask Egberto anything for tomorrow, folks. Ask Egberto, politicsdoneright.com/Ask Egberto anything. It'll send it to you. Maybe it's just a little bit backed up. All right, we had 6 trillion thrown into the economy in 2021, all while China was keeping parts of the economy locked and not shipping more money, plus less supplies equal inflation. Again, everything didn't come from China, and we did have supply chain issues, but only half of the inflation was due to reduce scarcity. All right, folks, please support the program. How can you support the program? Go to politicsdoneright.com/support. politicsdoneright.com/support. Here is the and by the way, wait a minute, Eric, go to your junk mail to make sure that it didn't go there. Anyway, folks, go to politicsdoneright.com/support to support our program. Likewise, please sign up for our newsletter, become a paid supporter of our newsletter. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. If you become a paid supporter of our newsletter, all the books that I've written, you will be able to read them online, both in the Substack application as well as on your desktop and anywhere else, your pad, anywhere else. So please sign up for a paid version of our newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. I want to thank all the callers. I want to thank all the commenters. I want to thank all the listeners. You guys are wonderful. Couldn't do this without you. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this program. I am what? Out. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise,
you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.